CA-GOLD connector installation on AGT-GOLD cable.
First, we're going to remove 2.5 inches of the protective overbraid. Cut a couple strands, being careful not to nick the braid wire. Balloon out the overbraid, and then carefully remove the 2.5 inches of protective overbraid. Now we're going to tape down the protective overbraid to prevent it from unraveling. Next, we're going to slide back the braid wire 2 inches from the end of the cable. Make sure that you keep the polypropylene yarn spacer material towards the end of the cable. Then we're going to remove 1 7/8 of the polypropylene yarn spacer material. Be careful again when you're removing the polypropylene yarn not to nick the red insulating material on the center conductor. Then pull the braid wire back towards the end of your cable. Now we are going to sand the outer braid. First, we are going to slide our stainless steel sanding tube about 2 to 3 inches underneath the braid wire. And then we're going to sand starting about 1 inch from the end of the braid wire, 1 1/4 inch. We have to sand around the complete circumference of the cable. And we have to abrade every strand because each strand is coated with a plastic type material. If we don't sand it, you'll get a very poor electrical connection. Remember, all we have to do is abrade the wire. Don't over sand it because you could sand right through the braid wire. Now we will remove 1 1/4 inches of braid wire. Mark the 1 1/4 by cutting a few strands of the braid wire. We don't want to nick the center conductor insulation. Balloon it out and cut the rest of the strands at the 1 1/4 mark. Again, you must be very careful that you don't damage the red Teflon insulating material on the center conductor. Now we will remove 3/4 inch of the red Teflon insulating material from the center conductor. Then we're going to slide on our coupling ring, making sure that the shoulder end goes onto the cable first. Then we'll slide on our outer or shield crimp furl. Because we are going to be crimping the center conductor, we're going to slide on a wire furl onto the center conductor. Slide the wire furl on until it just touches the red insulating material on the center conductor. If you're going to solder the center conductor, do not use the wire furl. Refer to the JMPU connector installation video for proper soldering techniques. Use the center conductor to flare the braid wire. Make sure that the braid wire is evenly distributed around the cable to make assembly easier. Slide on the plug body so that the crimp area of the plug is just underneath the braid wire. Slide up your crimp furl so that it just slaps the back end of the plug. Push the plug into the crimp furl until the shoulder is snug as possible to the crimp furl. Make sure that we have 3/8 of an inch of the wire furl sticking out of the end of the pin. This will ensure that the center conductor insulator is getting up inside the pin. If you don't, take the plug body apart, remove a little bit of the braid wire, and then repeat from the flaring process. Now we're going to crimp the outer crimp furl using a .255 hexagonal crimp with a cycling crimp tool. A cycling crimp tool means that it has to go through its complete cycle before you've completed your crimp. Making sure that your crimp furl stays snug to the plug body, crimp the outer crimp furl. Make sure that your crimp tool stays butted to the back shoulder of the plug body, and cycle your crimp tool. Next, we're going to crimp the center pin using a .100 hexagonal crimp. The center pin has 2 diameters. We're going to be crimping on the smaller diameter area right where it transitions from the bigger diameter area. Next, we want to remove the excess center conductor. We want to make sure that we leave about a 1/16 inch of the center conductor sticking past the end of the pin after we cut it off. Notice how we haven't cut it off flush with the end of the pin. If we were soldering it, then we would cut it off flush with the end of the pin. Next, we want to slide up and thread on our coupling ring. The final step for all connectors is to run the cable and connector test.
CA-GOLD connector installation on AGT-GOLD cable.
First, we're going